Apollo, the brilliant god of music, poetry and sunlight, stood triumphant. His golden lyre gleamed in the sunlight, and his radiant aura seemed to brighten the entire landscape. The air was filled with the sweet melodies of his music, celebrating his victory. He had just slain the monstrous serpent, Python, a creature so large it could coil itself around the entire world. The battle had been fierce, with the earth trembling under the weight of their struggle. Apollo's arrows had flown true, piercing the beast's thick hide and bringing it to its end.
"What are you doing with those, little one?" Apollo asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and amusement.
Exhausted but exhilarated, Apollo encountered Eros, the mischievous god of love. The young god was known for his playful nature and his ability to influence the hearts of gods and mortals alike. Apollo's curiosity was piqued by the sight of Eros with his bow and arrows. Eros, small and winged, was toying with his bow and arrows. His wings fluttered lightly as he aimed at an invisible target, a mischievous grin playing on his lips. The arrows he held were no ordinary weapons. They were imbued with powerful magic. One arrow was crafted of gold, the other of lead. The golden arrow shimmered with an ethereal glow, while the leaden one seemed dull and heavy in comparison. Each arrow had a distinct purpose known only to Eros and a few select gods.
"The golden arrow instills love," Eros explained, his voice filled with a sense of pride and mystery, "while the leaden one creates aversion. These arrows could change the course of destinies, binding hearts together or driving them apart with a single shot."
Who would need such a thing? Apollo pondered aloud, his mind racing with the possibilities. He had seen the effects of love and aversion in the lives of mortals and gods. But the idea of controlling such powerful emotions was both intriguing and unsettling.
Apollo chuckled, still flushed with his victory, his mind momentarily distracted from the gravity of Eros's words. He felt invincible, basking in the glory of his triumph over Python, unaware of the power the leaden arrow held. Little did he know, this encounter with Eros would soon lead to a series of events that would change his life forever. The leaden arrow, though seemingly insignificant, held the potential to wound even the mightiest of gods, and Apollo was about to learn this lesson in the most unexpected way. Eros, his eyes twinkling with mischief and a hint of divine purpose, aimed his golden arrow at Daphne, a beautiful nymph who was the daughter of the river god Peneus. Eros, the god of love, often found amusement in the affairs of mortals and gods alike. His arrows, both golden and leaden, had the power to ignite love or disdain in the hearts of those they struck. Daphne loved to roam the forests free as the wind and desired nothing more than to remain unwed. She cherished her independence and the serenity of nature, finding solace in the rustling leaves and the gentle whispers of the river. Her heart was set on a life of freedom, untouched by the bonds of love or marriage.
No spoken lines in this scene.
At the same time, Eros shot Apollo with the leaden arrow. Apollo, the god of the sun, was known for his radiant beauty and unmatched prowess in music and poetry. Yet in this moment, he was unaware of the divine mischief that was about to befall him. Instantly, a strange feeling washed over Apollo. It was as if a shadow had been cast over his heart, filling him with a sense of longing and confusion. He felt a pull towards Daphne, a desire that was both sudden and intense. He was filled with an overwhelming desire for Daphne, a love he had never known before. This newfound passion consumed him, making him yearn for her presence and affection. The god of the sun, who had always been so composed and self-assured, now found himself at the mercy of emotions he could not control. Daphne, struck by the golden arrow, felt a surge of revulsion, particularly towards Apollo. The very sight of him, once a distant figure of admiration, now filled her with dread and discomfort. She could not understand why she felt this way, but the intensity of her emotions was undeniable. She found his brilliance overwhelming and his attention suffocating. The freedom she once cherished seemed to slip away as Apollo's gaze followed her every move. Daphne's heart raced with a mix of fear and frustration as she struggled to escape the unwanted affection of the sun god. The forest, her sanctuary, now felt like a cage, trapping her in a web of emotions spun by the arrows of Eros. Apollo, blinded by Eros's enchantment, approached Daphne, his heart pounding with newfound love. He poured out his feelings, praising her beauty and grace.
No spoken lines in this scene.
Daphne, however, felt nothing but fear and discomfort. Apollo's words were like a swarm of bees buzzing around her, and she longed to escape. She turned and fled, her white gown billowing behind her like a cloud. Apollo, surprised but undeterred, gave chase. He was determined to win her over. Through fields and forests they ran, Apollo's golden hair glinting in the sunlight, Daphne's breath catching in her throat. The chase seemed endless, with Apollo's determination unwavering and Daphne's desperation growing with each passing moment. The sun cast long shadows as they darted through the trees, the forest echoing with the sound of their footsteps and heavy breathing. As Apollo drew closer, Daphne, desperate and exhausted, reached the edge of a wide, flowing river. The water rushed past with a sense of urgency, mirroring her own frantic heartbeat. She could feel Apollo's presence looming behind her, his breath almost on her neck. The river seemed like her last hope, a barrier that might save her from his relentless pursuit.
Father, help me! Change my form! Free me from this pursuit! Daphne's voice was filled with a mixture of fear and determination. She called out to the heavens, her plea echoing through the trees. She knew that only a divine intervention could save her now.
Peneus, hearing his daughter's plea, sent a surge of energy through her. The river god, moved by his daughter's desperation, decided to intervene. He could not bear to see her suffer any longer. With a wave of his hand, he channeled his divine power into her, initiating a transformation that would forever change her fate. Daphne felt a tingling sensation spread through her limbs. It started at her toes and quickly moved upwards, enveloping her entire body. She could feel her muscles stiffening, her skin hardening and her breath slowing. It was as if nature itself was taking over her form, reshaping her into something new and unrecognizable. Her feet rooted to the ground, her skin turned to bark, her arms stretched towards the sky, and her fingers sprouted leaves. The transformation was both painful and liberating. She could feel her human form slipping away, replaced by the sturdy, unyielding essence of a tree. Her thoughts became slower, more serene, as she embraced her new existence.
No spoken lines in this scene.
And so Daphne was transformed into a laurel tree, forever escaping Apollo's relentless pursuit. Apollo, reaching the spot where Daphne had stood moments before, was left in awe and sorrow. He touched the tree's bark gently, realizing that his desire had led to this irreversible change. The laurel tree stood tall and proud, a symbol of Daphne's resilience and the power of the gods. From that day on, Apollo vowed to honor her, wearing a crown of laurel leaves as a reminder of the woman who had escaped his grasp through divine intervention. Apollo, reaching the riverbank, was met with a sight that made his heart stop.
Daphne.
Daphne was gone, replaced by a beautiful laurel tree, its leaves rustling softly in the breeze. He reached out and touched the bark, feeling the life pulsing beneath his fingers.
Daphne.
He whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. The leaves of the laurel tree trembled as if in response. Apollo understood. Daphne was gone, transformed to escape his love.
Sorrow washed over me. I had never felt such pain, such loss.
He sank to his knees at the base of the tree, his tears watering its roots.
She's at peace. Her spirit is one with the tree.
Apollo, his voice choked with emotion, vowed to honor Daphne forever. He declared that the laurel tree would be his sacred tree, a symbol of victory and honor. From that day forward, Apollon wore a crown of laurel leaves upon his head. The laurel became a symbol of achievement, worn by poets, athletes, and heroes. Daphne's transformation served as a reminder that love cannot be forced. It was a tale whispered by the wind through the leaves of the laurel tree, a story of unrequited love and the enduring power of nature. But Apollon's story did not end there. He had many more adventures to experience, many more myths to inspire. Apollon, still carrying the pain of his loss, picked himself up and continued his journey. He knew that life was full of unexpected turns, and he was determined to face them with courage and grace. He traveled the world, sharing his gift of music and poetry, healing the sick and inspiring the human spirit. And always, he carried with him the memory of Daphne, the beautiful nymph who had chosen freedom over love. What other challenges awaited Apollon? What other lessons would he learn? The myths are full of surprises, and Apollon's story was far from over. But for now, let us remember the story of Apollon and Daphne, a tale of love, loss, and the enduring power of transformation.